I'm Shannon Weber with Hive, a hub of positive sexual and reproductive health. I'm here with the amazing
David. I'm Damon L. Jacobs. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist in New York and creator of PrEP Facts, Rethinking HIV Prevention and Sex on Facebook.
the very active PrEP Facebook group, and it's November 19th,
Yeah.
2015. We're in somewhere between Foster City and San Francisco, just to like
magical little town called Burlingame.
There we go. That's where we are. And so you just surpassed 12,000 members in this PrEP Facts Facebook group.
Right.
Amazing.
It is
extraordinary.
I cannot believe it. It is an international group. I began on July 1st, 2013.
In your underwear.
In my boxers.
Can we stop
in Brooklyn.
about that? Okay.
It was a hot summer. Well, I don't like to wear clothes anyway. People who know me know
This is what the video is going to be all about. This is why we're meeting, actually.
Okay.
So you don't like to wear clothes anyway.
I don't like to wear
and
clothes.
You were in your underwear.
And it was a hot
Brooklyn.
summer day, so of course I'm not going to wear clothes in my own home.
All good stories start this way.
And it was really important for me at that time to start something about PrEP, because what was going on in July of 2013 is that it was already a year after the FDA had approved the use of Truvada for PrEP. And in New York City at that time, none of our organizations, agencies, not our Department of Health, most doctors and nurses would not actually give this information to their patients. Mm-hmm. And in my role working in vaccine research, which meant I was going out and doing outreach and education, I was constantly meeting young men who were newly infected with HIV and had no idea that there was actually a medicine that could help them. But I thought, okay, well, we're going to have a vaccine at some point, and that will hopefully take care of it. Well, unfortunately, the vaccine research ended. The vaccine trial was called 505. It turned out to have no efficacy, so it ended. The funding for my job ended. And one of the drag queens in New York City, who had been so supportive of the work, came up to me during my last week of work and said, how's the vaccine research going? How's everything going? And I was like, well, unfortunately, the vaccine is over, and I'm really bummed because I want to see a vaccine. But until we have a vaccine, we have PrEP. And my friend was like, well, what's PrEP? And I got really enthusiastic. I'm like, well, PrEP is this daily medicine that prevents HIV by 99%, and I personally have been using it for 2 years on a daily basis. It has introduced this new realm of freedom and empowerment for me, and I got really, into it. But my friend wasn't into it. And he just looked at me, and his face dropped dead. And he said, why didn't you tell me about this? I tested positive 3 months ago. And I didn't know that there was a pill that could prevent HIV. I didn't know there was something like this that could help me stay negative. Why didn't you tell me?
Like a betrayal almost.
It was, and I didn't know what to say because I knew that he was right. And I knew that I had withheld this information, and I knew that I had failed him. And I knew that structurally the health systems in New York had failed him. And I was really upset about that, Shannon, because here I am. I've been working in this field for 20 years, and I always think I'm trying to do the right thing, and I'm always trying to be the right person and a good advocate. But he was right, because I had that information and I hadn't given it to him. And I have to live with that now. But with that energy, I got pissed, I got sad, and then I got angry. And that was when I went to Facebook, because I'm like, I can't believe that a year after the FDA approval, that there's no place in social media where people can learn the science, the data, the facts, and the information. And suddenly a light bulb went on. It's like, wait a second, there's nowhere on Facebook that somebody can learn the science and the data and the facts and the information. If no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I honestly didn't think it would be that interesting to people. I mean, I honestly...
what did you think would come of it? When you did it, what did you want from it, or what did you hope from it?
What I wanted from it was the peace of mind of knowing that at least I tried. That every day I tried. I may not be able to stop people from becoming HIV positive, but I can at least go to bed saying that I tried. And I thought, this is maybe going to be interesting to a few hundred people. And this group is different because there is a decorum of interaction that's expected. People are expected to be minimally respectful of each other, not agree with each other, but not to call each other horrible names, and not to attack or shame or slut shame or call each other horrible names when they're trying to learn new things and ask questions. And it's different from social media in that regard. So I thought these two things.
There's a level of respect and camaraderie in some way.
Treat people like humans. I didn't think that would appeal to very many people. And I thought maybe a few hundred people, but at the most. Well, suddenly the thing took off, and now we have 12,000 members.
It's amazing, from all over.
So
what do you think, let's talk first about what do you think some of the challenges have been for you with, first of all, something that just was so wildly successful, I mean, almost overnight, and also challenges around having this conversation in a public space?
Well, the challenges have been, everybody has their own learning curve. And everybody has their own way that they acclimate to new information. And change is hard for everybody, even good change.
Right.
So we have a lot of people that come onto the page who are asking questions, not because they're trying to be mean, but because they simply don't know. And then we have people who have been working in the community for a long time that think they're being stigmatizing when they're not.
Right. And we can feel so defensive or, you know, these things. And
right.
Yeah.
That has been a problem. And really, for me, the biggest challenge is just maintaining a sense of civility amongst conflict. You can have conflict, welcoming, but you can be respectful of one another, even when you don't agree with each other.
Yep.
That has been the hardest thing for me as a moderator to maintain over these last 2+ years.
What do you think are some of the lessons learned from this experience?
What's so exciting about PrEP is that this is the first time we've been talking about prevention and sex in a really empowered way, and that we've used social media to do this. And I always say social media is the great equalizer, because it's not like this is in the power of the haves and the have-nots. It's not like this is the privileged class keeping the information from the rest of the world. This is information and data and science that's available to anybody, anywhere. Or at least anybody who can be on Facebook.
Right, and especially in the way that you've set up the conversation to happen. It can happen with this warm regard and this sharing amongst people.
Right, and that is the basis of my work, which I think is the basis of your work, is fundamental love for people.
It is.
Doesn't mean I like everybody, but there is a fundamental love for people that I think is welcoming and invites people to have these conversations and to sometimes share some really personal information about sexuality, about the relevance and spiritual significance of exchanging bodily fluids as part of sex.
And connection.
And people are willing to go online and talk about these facts and these experiences. And I feel very lucky that I have been part of fostering these different conversations. People may disagree with me, but I think most of our messaging around prevention over the last 30 years has been very much about fear. Fear of what could happen if you feel too good. And I think the message with PrEP is you can have pleasure and you can have intimacy and you can approach that in a very, very healthy way. And I think because of that, we're seeing men and women who are really getting emboldened and standing up for, I have a right to express my body and my sexuality in a way that makes me feel good. And how often do we talk about prevention and feeling good?
Right. I think that's one of the things I've loved that's come out of it is this empowered group of people that own the information and want to be decision makers for themselves.
Right.
And I think another thing for me that's come out of it is seeing people witness each other. I think that goes with that love piece, but it's also like, what is it like to witness each other's experiences and stories?
Right.
So you mentioned men and women. Talk to me a little bit about trans and non-trans women in the group. So a really important part of the PrEP story that we don't hear enough about everywhere. Tell me what that's like in the PrEP Facts Facebook group.
It is true. We don't hear enough about it, and I want to hear more of it. And this is why I include and want to have more women and trans men on the page talking about these experiences, because PrEP does work, and it can be a way to prevent HIV for anybody. I am a white gay man, so this is more of who comes to the page. And I don't think it has to be that way, but that sort of seems to be the way it goes.
It also seems to be the uptake of PrEP overall may or may not be the PrEP Facts Facebook page by itself.
Right, we're reflecting demographics that might be reflecting the uptake in the United States for now. I am proud to say that I think, have been very clear. I've been very clear in my intention of being inclusive in this regard. I'm not saying I'm always successful with that, but I'm saying that's been my intention from the beginning, is to include the lives and the story and the triumphs and tribulations of men and women of all genders, of all races, of all ages, of all body types. We have seen on this page, and I'm so thrilled, we have 4 PrEP mommies who have had 5 babies while using PrEP.
Awesome.
And have talked about it on this page.
It's beautiful.
And to see that and to witness that and to feel, I mean, you know, we have one of my moderators is a woman who conceived twins while using PrEP. And she generously shares with us pictures of her
Beautiful.
babies all the time.
It's
So
so
we're getting
awesome.
to see them grow up in real time.
Yep.
How amazing is that? That PrEP has given us this way to celebrate life that we haven't had for over 34 years.
So true. I would say that's another takeaway for me from the group is this intersection of hope that's brought gay men and trans and non-trans women together. So it's really beautiful.
It is amazing. And we definitely have many, many trans men on our page who are very open about their use of PrEP. And we have a moderator named Brandon who has been outstanding. Extraordinary in patiently educating me and so many others about the exclusion of trans men from all the research, which I didn't actually realize until Brandon called it to my attention. Trans men have been uniformly, completely excluded from PrEP research. And that needs to change. But I've gotten to see that unfold through social media as well.
Yeah, we've all learned so much from each other. So you have done an extraordinary job, like creating the space and the way in which people should interact with each other. Tell me about your support team.
I could not do what I do without the moderators. When I started this group by myself in my underwear in Brooklyn, I was moderating the whole thing by myself, and I am a bit of a control freak, so that worked. But after about a year of this, I realized I could not handle the volume by myself. So I did something that I'm not so good at doing, but I encourage everyone in the education activist world, and I always tell my clients, we need to know when to ask for help. And some of us control freaks have a harder time with that than others, but I think that's really the wisdom of knowing where our limits are and then asking for help. So I initially asked for my colleagues in New York, other psychotherapists, to help me moderate this page. And they're wonderful, wonderful people, but they said yes to something that they really were not that interested in doing.
Right.
So I had a group of moderators, they did nothing, it was still me doing it alone. So I started looking at the page, and I started looking who are the people on the page that are present, that are articulate, that are compassionate, that are responsible,
so the
that they know the science, they can navigate conflict. Yeah. And through that, I got the wonderful 11 moderators that I have right now, and between the 12 of us, we're kind of covering mostly 24/7. But yeah, I do want to give a shout out, and I have their names written because I knew I was not going to remember all their names. But Amy Raspatello, Brandon Gallagher, Dave Glidden, David Knopf, Eric McCauley, Jody Wheeler, Lisa Horn, Mudilin, I always mess up his last name, I'm sorry, Mudilin, I'm so sorry. Robert Bernardo, Noel Gordon, and Scotty Roche are pioneers, and they're so inspirational, and everybody, including me, is doing this voluntarily. I mean, none of us get any support for this financially, but we're all really driven by this possibility of seeing this world where all men and all women and all individuals of all genders, of all races, ages, get to make proactive, responsible, and empowered decisions about our pleasure.
It's beautiful.
And when I say that, you know, people say, well, what does PrEP stand for? I say, well, it's pre-exposure prophylaxis. But for so many of us, it has come to stand for proactive, responsible, and empowered pleasure.
Beautiful.
And I think it's a goal that we can all, any of us in our lives, can say, what does it mean in my life to be proactive? What does it mean to be truly responsible for myself and my community? What does it mean to be empowered about what I do with my body and my mind and my spirit? And what does it mean to experience pleasure?
Amazing.
And that is what we're all trying to put out there into the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to the moderators also. So we'll put a link to this in the blog post at PrEP Facts on Facebook.
Sweet.
Join us.
Join us.